This is the IBJ Podcast for the week of Monday, July 29th, 2024, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. The debut of the Speedway eatery Borage in June was one of the hottest local restaurant launches in recent memory, covered by most of the major media outlets in the Indianapolis market, including IBJ. Its co-creators, Kline and Zoe Taylor, had won considerable renown as chefs for nationally lauded Milktooth in Fletcher Place. And the concept for Borage was unique, combining a restaurant, a bakery, and a market in one L-shaped building at 1609 North Lindquist Drive, about 7 blocks from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Taylor and Kline wanted to make a point of providing fair compensation for employees, guaranteeing at least $20 an hour. IBJ's Dave Lindquist outlined their plans and the investment from a local real estate developer that made the project possible in a story that ran in the June 7th issue of IBJ. I decided it would be instructive to follow up on how the business is shaking out after the June 12th grand opening. In this week's edition of the podcast, Zoe Taylor brings us up to date on what she and Kline have learned in the last 6 weeks about what's working and what has needed tweaking. As Taylor readily admits, running the financial side of a restaurant doesn't come easy to them, so perhaps their biggest challenge has been learning how to budget and make the business sustainable. Taylor and Kline are opting not to take salaries for the time being. Borage hasn't been profitable right out of the gate, and they realize the timeline for profitability for a small, independent restaurant typically stretches many months. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Zoe Taylor, co-owner of Borage at 17th and North Lindquist Drive in Speedway. Thanks for inviting me today to the cafe, bakery, and market.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Now, first off, I hopefully am going to surprise you by not asking you a lot of questions about the bear.
Yes.
Because I have not seen it.
Neither have I. I have not had time.
Okay. That's good to know.
Not at least this latest season, but big fan of the previous ones.
Oh, okay, so you have seen the previous ones.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's almost expected now that we ask about it, can you vouch for the accuracy of this show, I believe on FX, about running and I think kind of recasting a restaurant?
Yes, I think it's pretty close to accurate. It's really hard out here. It's difficult, and you just don't have a lot of support, so it can be pretty challenging.
So that kind of like us against the world mentality is very prevalent.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So Borage has been open for about 6 weeks.
Yes, yeah. Our first day was open to the public was June 12th.
And that was a Wednesday.
That was a Wednesday.
Why open on a Wednesday?
We just kind of wanted to start small and give our staff a way to kind of ease into it. We had done 3 days of really lovely soft openings where we did lunches and dinners. So we kind of felt like we had a footing, but we kind of just wanted to go into a first full day with it being on a weekday. I don't know. And then kind of build up to the weekend craziness.
Most folks probably know this, but just in case, what is a soft opening?
So it's just a test run. It's just when restaurants invite friends, family, a lot of, we prioritize inviting a lot of our industry friends because we wanted real and honest feedback from them. And that's exactly what they're meant for. They're meant for getting out service kinks, getting out any sort of hiccup along the way. So the preface before and after is please, we would love to hear your feedback. And we got a lot of really great feedback.
What kinds of feedback did you get?
All across the board. Radicchio and the gigante white bean salad might be a little overpowering for certain palates. Or maybe leave water carafes on the tables so that servers don't have to water all the tables all the time. Just things like that really help and seem very small in the grand scheme of things, but when added up, make a huge difference on the day-to-day of a restaurant.
What is that last 2 weeks like? Because this restaurant was years in the making. You get to that point where you're about 2 weeks to go, is it insane? Is it chaos? Or was everything falling into place?
It was a whole mixed bag. It was like scrambling for certain things and feeling like things were falling into place, but also, I don't know, I just kept coming back to this feeling of like, we had all of this time to think about all of these things, and yet I feel like I haven't thought through enough things, and then I would get like mad at myself, and it's like, listen, a lot of this you didn't see coming. You prepared yourself in ways that you thought you could, but you're never going to think of everything.
So you initially announced plans for Borage, I think December 2021. Yeah. At the time, a projected opening date about 6 months after that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give you PSTD.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Or PSSD. It's okay. Can you quickly run through the things that you encountered?
Yeah,
about the process that just took longer than expected? Definitely.
So initially, it was with the construction build out, what we did not realize was some of the previous lives of the building. It has been many things, but one of the things it was a gas station back in the 60s, and I'm pretty sure 60s. And like most gas stations have the underground tank reservoirs for the gas. They have 2 or 3. Well, ours had like 8. And so it was like digging all of those out, backfilling, like EPA testing. That was like a really big 6 to 8 month holdup that we did not see coming. I have no idea why.
That's incredible. So it was never addressed before?
No.
Because I mean, that kind of a story has been going on for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Our construction companies had no idea, and they just got down in there and were like, oh wow, this is a lot more than than should be here. So that was a big one. And then we are funded by our investor, Benj, and his company is Kenmar. And they went through a big growth spurt and went and bought the pyramids up north and made a lot of like really good big business moves for themselves. But when it came to getting money for us at that time, we were kind of like the little baby passion project. So we were last in line. So we were just kind of waiting on our funds for a little while, and then we got them, and we were able to proceed and open.
What were you guys doing in the meantime just to make ends meet?
A lot of many different things. I am lucky in that I started doing pastry boxes during the pandemic and made them from home and sold them from my porch, just all through Instagram. And that sustained me for a while. Josh worked on a farm at one of our wonderful farm suppliers, Mad Farmers Collective. He worked there for a little while. He drove Lyft and Uber. He just ran the gamut of like just trying to fill time.
But you had a financier, Brad Benj.
Yep.
And so he's the primary source of capital.
Yes, 100% of it, yeah.
Does he own the building, or Kenmar own the building?
Yes, they are our landlords, yeah.
Okay, so you guys, your job is running the restaurant. Did you guys have to put in any of your own capital?
No, we did not.
That probably has to kind of feel like a relief.
It feels like a huge relief, yes. Yeah. And that was kind of our hard line on that. We did not want to put any of our own into it. We kind of knew that this project would be huge, and we knew that it would be our lives. And we felt like that was quite enough to put into it. Also that we didn't have a ton to put into it anyway. Weren't super liquid in any way, shape, or form. So, we were like, well, we got our creative talents, and that's about it.
It's a fascinating story, the way that we reported it at IBJ a while back, that he essentially came to you and said, what would you guys like to be able to do?
Yeah.
And so you basically had a blank canvas and somebody saying, we'll work together and I'll handle the financial side of it.
Yeah, it's an incredible gift. Yeah, he initially reached out to us about a Hotel Indie project, and we kind of talked about that a little bit, decided not to go that way, and then he reached out about a year later, and because Kenmar's offices used to be located directly across the street from Borage. So he saw the buildings go up for sale, bought them, thought of us, and reached out with that very generous offer. And Brent grew up in Speedway, so has want to help and see what he can bring to the town.
Am I right here about the hours? The hours for the cafe and market are 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday.
Yes.
With dinner service from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday through Saturday.
Yes, you got it.
And those have been the same since you opened?
Yep.
So the hours so far, those seem to have worked out the way you wanted to?
Well, we did have the market open until 6 initially, and then we just saw that traffic was not there. So we kind of immediately corrected and had it close at 2. But the great thing is that on the nights that we are open for dinner, if people wander over into the market and see something, we can still check them out and have that.
Was the idea first thinking there may be just people from the neighborhood coming to the market, but what happened is it's typically the people who have been eating here and their interest is piqued enough to check out the market?
Exactly. Yep. That's kind of what we were hoping to be, a neighborhood market. And I mean, those are still open to change if we get to the point where we're seeing enough interest. We definitely would expand the hours. But yeah, what we're seeing is that a lot of people come in and eat and they wander over to the market and grab provisions for afterwards.
So, and let me run through the concept to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
So we have 3 distinct experiences, if you will. You have a restaurant in the west wing of the building that Josh manages.
Yes.
It makes breakfast and lunch on most days, dinner on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Mm-hmm. What is a quick way to describe the cuisine?
I would say seasonal, New American, just kind of very globally inspired, but respectful and farm focused.
Why just have dinner on Thursday through Saturday?
I just wanted to start there. Josh and I are doing this together, and we have 2 small kids together, and he just didn't want to be gone every single night of the week and miss bedtime.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's start with 3. We'll see where the interest is, and if we need to expand it, we always can.
There's a bakery at the elbow of this building. It's an L-shaped building, which I'm guessing is more your domain since you specialize in baking.
Yeah. And the nice part about the bakery is we're in the corner, but we supply both the cafe and the market with all of the bread for everything. So we're kind of I like being the elbow. Everybody can get to us. We can get to everybody.
What are some of the most popular things people would find in the bakery?
I think we make a really great baguette. I'm a big fan of it. If I were to come to the market, I would get a baguette and a bottle of wine. And you'd be really set. But we have incredible croissants. Vanessa Aviles, my head baker, is so smart about creating systems for croissants and production, and I think they're really good. My favorite one right now is a savory goat cheese and mushroom croissant that we have. It's really good.
So Borage is 3 things when you easily just could have said, we're just going to be a breakfast and lunch place. Why do that?
I think that it came from wanting to be as efficient as possible. For a long time, Josh worked during the pandemic at a local place and did a lot of grab and go and take home meals. And I don't know, working through the pandemic, we just felt like the restaurant model, the old restaurant model, was kind of tired. And when we were thinking about what we wanted to do with the space and knowing how big the space was ahead of time, we were like, well, what if we just had a retail space where we could sell everything that we made in the bakery and the kitchen and be able to have those takeout meals, but also kind of would work as a coffee shop if people weren't interested in a full service meal. It just seemed like a great way to kind of have the best of both worlds.
How's it going?
It's going. It's going well. No, we've had such ample support from the local community and surrounding Indy. I think it's going wonderfully. Josh and I are not the most financially savvy human beings on planet Earth. So there's been a learning curve there for sure. Our first payroll, we just gave all of our money away to all of our colleagues, and we just didn't. We're learning how to budget and learning how to make this a sustainable business. But it's going well.
Okay.
Numbers are scary.
Just in general.
Just in general.
I'm assuming you can reach out to Brent.
Yes.
And say, hey, turns out we need some help with something.
Well, yes, we're receiving a lot of financial coaching, but we don't get to just be like, hey, can we have some money? Because it doesn't work like that anymore, unfortunately. But yes, we are working with a wonderful CPA, Emily Smith, and we're making progress every day. So that's all we can do.
So once things got going in the first 6 weeks, were there any surprises? Anything like, oh, we thought this was going to be a hot item and boy, it's not. Or, man, people really love this thing with mushrooms and I didn't think they'd like it at all.
Yeah. I think what surprised us the most for sure was how many tips the market side of the business makes.
Really?
I don't know. I think we were just incredibly naive when we were planning this, but we were like, I don't know. We just didn't think it would make as many tips as it does. And our model was that we offer a base rate of $15 an hour for all of our colleagues that work here, but then we guarantee them $20 an hour, and most of that it comes from the tip pools. So we have 2 tip pools, one for the cafe and one for the market. And if the tip pools do not bring our colleagues' base rate from 15 to 20, then Borage guarantees them the $20 an hour.
Okay. So effectively they get paid at least 20, but it could be more.
It could be
depending
more.
on tips.
Yeah, and so the tip pool was where we were surprised because it was just like taking everybody way over 20, which was great. But then we kind of had to figure out, how does it make sense for us as a business?
So at the market, or people are just buying goods, is it the situation where I am typing in my code for my debit card, and then it asks me, do you want to leave a tip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't have to. And I think it's wonderful. It's generous.
So how many full-time employees do you have?
20?
And then when we say part-time, what kind of employees would those be in?
We have probably about 15 part-time-ish.
15?
Yeah.
So total you employ about 30-ish people. About half.
30.
Is that what you expected at the beginning?
Yeah, right around there. Maybe a little bit more. Our labor costs have definitely been the part of the projections have been higher than we anticipated, but
I used to do a feature for IBJ called Inside Dish. It was a video feature, and we would go around and talk to restaurateurs about the business of running restaurants.
Yeah.
And every single one of them was like labor costs. That is the biggest problem.
Yeah. And then we get a lot of pushback if we want to raise prices on the menu, and we feel like
already after 6 weeks.
Oh yeah. Well, we've gotten both. We've heard that our prices are not high enough, and then we've also heard that they're far too high. And while I do realize I will not please everyone in this world, although I will die trying.
Good for you.
I wish I weren't like that, but I am. We feel like the farmers and our food is incredibly cheap in this country, and I think that we all need to kind of realize that we need to pay more for these goods that cost so much and so much labor to produce. That's the question, where do we pay for that, and where does that go, and who picks that up? Because I really want to pay everyone here a living wage, and paying people $20 an hour seems like the bare minimum, honestly, and yet it's really fucking hard to do,
Yeah.
So I'm just every day it's whew,
so
what's it gonna be?
Yeah. Let's take a quick break so we can hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm. With more than 800 attorneys in 8 primary Midwest markets and the District of Columbia, we provide solutions to the business issues facing middle market and emerging companies alike. We do this through a highly collaborative and inclusive team approach. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
All right, we're back with this week's edition of the IBJ Podcast and my conversation with Zoe Taylor about the new restaurant, bakery, and market, Borage. So we were talking right before we started recording that you and Josh are not taking salaries right now.
Not right now, no.
And because you want to wait till you're profitable. So you've not been profitable right out of the gate.
No.
Do you have a sense of when that happens?
I mean, if you Google, which I have, if you Google when does a restaurant become profitable, for most like small independent ones, it's not going to happen until after a year. And in my experience, like I know other places I've worked, like payouts for investors, those didn't start happening until like a year plus of operation. So I think it takes a while, and I think that's okay. Is it easy? No. But I have a Fazoli's that opens, and it's like this kind of like all of these SOPs are in place and everything is like plugged in already. I think that could probably be profitable pretty early on, but I don't know. I think it's
but yeah, I mean everything is like down to a science. I mean, like
right.
the milliounce apportionment of
right.
you know how much pepperoni you put in the.
There are a lot of things about like chain and more corporate type places that we admire and have really detailed recipes and like have anybody be able to like look at something and down to the gram be able to like recreate a pasta salad for like our grab and go market or something like that we have in place and are working towards. But there's also just a death of creativity that kind of comes with those places as well, and we're very kind of aware of taking what serves us but also what doesn't, being aware of what can't and won't serve us there.
Have you changed the menu at all? Or is this a place where the menu would naturally change from month to month or week to week?
We have. So our menu format is inspired by our like number one favorite restaurant in the world, Lula Cafe in Chicago. And they have a cafe menu that is available all day, even though they have dinner services as well, and kind of have like an all day theme just like us. And so we're heavily inspired by their model and have a cafe menu that is available anytime that we're open. So from the 8 to 2 on a Wednesday or even on the weekends. And then it's also available during all the dinner services. And the cafe menu just has a lot of really approachable things. It's got like a turkey sandwich. It's got like an all-day breakfast platter because I like to eat breakfast any time of the day. And we are very aware of like lots of factories around here. We want to appeal to a lot of shift workers who want to come in and eat whatever they want whenever they want. So having the cafe menu with lots of options was really important to us. But that did not answer your question. So the cafe menu has remained pretty static. I think Josh has added a few things to it, but his dinner menu rotates a lot more seasonally. Like there are a lot of things on the cafe menu that we switch out seasonally as well, but the dinner menu is kind of where he gets a little bit more creative and fun, and the dessert menu for me is kind of where I'm able to like play around there.
So unlike a chain, for example, where you're pretty much stuck with the same menu,
right.
If something's not working,
right.
you go, well, we're changing it next week anyway, so
yeah.
We'll just come with something new. Let me go back real quick. So if you guys aren't taking salaries, how are you subsisting while you're waiting to become profitable? You personally.
That's a good question. Well, we rely on a lot of free childcare from grandparents right now. So that's really important. And hopes and prayers and dwindling savings. But
okay, so still working on savings.
Yeah, we're going okay. We're okay for now.
Okay. What have you discovered about reservations? I think before you opened, at least, you were saying it's not necessary to make reservations for brunch or dinner. Mm-hmm. We're going to hold tables open for walk-ins.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that still the case?
Yeah. Our thought going in, and what seems to have worked really well, is that we just save, it's half and half. We take up to 50% of our seats as reservations if it gets there, and then reserve the other half for walk-ins. And we just wanted to kind of have it accessible to anyone, because reservations are great. It's great to have it in the books, and yeah, we didn't want to deprive people of that.
You were about 7 blocks away from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
Just hosted the Brickyard.
Yes.
400. I'm assuming you didn't really know what to expect from having I don't know how many tens of thousands of people were there for the race.
Yeah, it was our first race open. Yeah.
How did that work out?
It was pretty slow. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I was pretty disappointed. It was, I know. I thought it was a Sunday, and Sundays are so far our busiest day. And I don't know. I kind of just thought we would get a lot more foot traffic, and it was a decent morning, but it really died off, and it was pretty slow Sunday for our standards.
I saw on Facebook that you guys had a lot of grab and go stuff.
Yeah.
But is that typically what you would have anyway? It wasn't trying to take advantage of people who are looking for.
Oh no, we would always have the grab and go options. Yeah, the grab and go is something we've in the market kind of just recently got off the ground and didn't have a ton of options when we first opened, but we've kind of found our groove there, and those are things that we'll have every day moving forward, not even just on race days.
Is there anything about managing the restaurant that was a surprise to you once you got going?
Not everybody's gonna like you forever, and I hate that. I just want everybody to be my friend. But just dealing with expectations and people, and just trying to keep communication consistent. I mean, that wasn't a surprise that it would be challenging, but I think and it hasn't even been that challenging. It's just how to do that for everyone across 3 sectors of a business.
So you're talking about the staff.
Yeah, and just making sure. And we work with a scheduling. They do our scheduling and payroll. It's called 7 shifts, and we're able to communicate through that. And I think that's kind of where we found, because first we were sending emails, and then emails were kind of scary, and then we were sent should we text people, and it's that seems really intrusive. I don't really want to text anybody if they're not at work. So this through this platform is where we can communicate across all areas of the business, and it's something that somebody can choose to open if they want to open it and interact with it, rather than being bombarded with work things when they're not at work, because that was pretty important.
That's helpful. I have this problem at my workplace. I assume other people do as well. There are so many different ways that you can be contacted now that sometimes I feel I need to be cognizant of any potential messages coming to me 4 or 5 different ways.
Right, yeah.
So, and I don't know if then as the person at the top who's doing the communicating, sounds like that was a question that you had to.
Yeah, trying to be as unintrusive to people's lives, because it just is incredibly overwhelming, especially going in and starting something. There are so many things so many little things that you want to catch up with somebody on, and it's you don't want to do that to them every second of their day when you don't need to, and don't want to ever fall into the realm of micromanaging anybody.
So you have Monday totally free.
Yeah.
What did you think you would be doing on Monday? And what are you actually doing on Monday?
I'm with my kids all day Monday, which is great. And we both are, Josh and I are. And we usually work from home. Actually, the last 2 Mondays, we have not had to be at the restaurant, which is great. But we're usually on our computers. If it's a payroll week, we're double checking clock-ins and making sure everything's good to go. But we try to limit that to only a few hours on Mondays, and then we're all in with the kids. Usually just at home. This Monday, Josh mowed the yard. I put the splash pad out, and the kids sat outside with the kids.
Okay, so that you've been able to hold on to your Mondays.
Yes, so far, yeah.
And then was it Tuesday, Wednesday? You have your evenings, and that's still.
Yeah, that's still good. And I love Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I get some office time where I'm able to put recipe binders together and laminate stuff and just kind of be on the floor too. I make sure to if it's Josh or I, we're kind of server assist on the floor whenever it's lunchtime and busy, and just bus tables and do anything that's needed of us.
Are the kids ever here at Borage?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Rocco's 2.5 and will find a knife, or just something sharp, or he's just kind of a bull in the china shop. attitude. But Guy will come and be incredibly helpful. He'll help me roll dough. He likes to be a part of the bakery until like the moment, a 5-year-old does it and he's like, okay, I'm over it. I need to go watch a show in the office.
Okay. There have been so many entrepreneurs that I've spoken with who said that they grew up in their parents' businesses.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that at all?
Definitely thought about it. For right now, they seem to think it's pretty cool. I know that won't last forever, though. But yeah, Guy, like gearing up to opening, he was like, I'm gonna give all of the tables, fill up all of their water cups. And I was like, wow, okay, that's ambitious. Well, I love it. I did not squash it, and he hasn't tried to do that yet. Mostly just likes to wander around the market and like find a bunch of things to like snack on. But it fills my heart a lot to see them here, and like everywhere I look, there are like things that they've done, or like they painted on the floor, and it's like kind of this like red orange paint that's like in our logo, so it kind of looks a little crazy, but it's really special.
Would you have any problems with them going into this industry?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I think Josh would say the opposite, but we're actively trying to make it a better place, and I think it will be better. I'm so hopeful and inspired by even Gen Z and like every generation after. I don't even know what my kids are. Gen X, maybe?
I have no clue anymore.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. I think I'm Gen X. I think they're definitely like Gen sub Z.
Okay. But I don't know. I'm incredibly inspired by them, and I think like the more I interact with people that are younger, then they're very, very quick to want to notice a problem and to like sit with an emotion or sit with a hard feeling and like not try to fix something right away. And there's like kind of like a presentness that's with them, and that's something I struggle with, and I'm very inspired by it. So I'm not worried about my kids going into a hard industry or doing something difficult, because I think that they're moving through life in a really beautiful and like present way, and I think that they'll continue to do that, or I hope they will. Well,
we're gonna have to check back. What's a good time frame? When should we check back and see how things are going?
Well, yeah, maybe like a decade.
That would be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great when you're still here in the decade.
Yeah, hopefully. And Guy will be 15. He'll just 16. Probably. Oh man, I'm thinking about my kids driving. Everybody's like, "Oh, having a baby is so hard." And I'm like, having teenagers seems much harder. They're going out into the world. They're interacting with other humans. They're driving cars. All right.
Well, I look forward to meeting Guy when he's 15, but I will steer clear of his car.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for making the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you.
My thanks again to Zoe Taylor. And folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, there are a few stories in the latest issue of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, Fishers is advancing a long-held plan to annex about 1,000 acres along its southeastern border. Daniel Bradley explains the benefits and the costs of adding the land and close to 3,000 residents to the city. Also in this week's paper, John Russell explores the implications of Eli Lilly and Company becoming one of a handful of companies worldwide worth at least $1 trillion. And Taylor Wooten has a progress report on the demolition of the crime-ridden town and terrace community on the east side. Again, you can find these stories in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at IBJ.com. I will say, it's quite a bit easier to access all of the latest news and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business, community, and economy if you're a subscriber. We're running a promotion right now that gives you complete access for $1 per week for 3 months, just to get a sense of how valuable and original our content is. Just go to IBJ.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ Podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.